You can't tell me that God doesn't exist when you look this good. Who the heck else could have created this?
She was holding the keys to her future. She had no idea someone else was holding the keys to her death. 320,000 people followed Aneka Townsend on Instagram. They watched her promote beauty products, share business tips, and document her journey as a young entrepreneur in Jamaica. They saw her carefully curated feed of success, ambition, and carefully applied eyelash extensions. They thought they knew her. But on October 18, 2022, Aneka posted something different, something raw and real and achingly hopeful. She stood in front of her camera, her smile wider than it had been in months, and held up a set of silver keys that caught the afternoon light. A new house, her own house, a fresh start after years of grinding, hustling, building her brand one post at a time. She turned those keys toward the camera lens, and you could see in her eyes that she believed she was finally stepping into the life she had worked so hard to create. "I'm in my peace era," she told her followers, her voice carrying the kind of quiet confidence that comes from surviving storms and finally seeing sunshine. That video would eventually rack up 165,000 views. Thousands of strangers would watch Aneka's joy, would see her hope reflected in those shiny new keys, would witness what she thought was the beginning of her best chapter. By the time most of them saw it, Aneka was already dead. 72 hours, that is all the time that stood between those keys and Aneka's body floating face down in the turquoise waters off the coast of Montego Bay, Jamaica. 72 hours between hope and horror, between new beginnings and a brutal ending, between a mother planning her birthday and a son who would never see her alive again. This is not just a story about how Aneka Townsend died. This is a story about how she died twice. Once at the hands of a monster who strangled the life from her body, and once at the hands of a justice system that had been handing that same monster keys to women's lives for nearly a decade. And it begins, like so many tragedies do, with a woman who simply wanted to be happy. Before we continue, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what time it is there right now. We want to see how far this story is reaching and how many people around the world are paying attention to cases like this. Your comment helps create awareness and keeps stories like hers from being forgotten. Let's make sure her voice echoes across every continent.
We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light, pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop, as we shout from the top, we're gonna be.
Aneka Townsend woke up that Thursday morning with plans stacked on top of plans. At 35 years old, she had built something tangible out of social media. She owned multiple ventures, Slick P Session and Slickiana 876. She worked as a brand ambassador for companies like Felis Bagasia, Havenale Healthcare, Jack in a Life, and Brit Snails Limited. She promoted fashion lines, cannabis products, and those perfect eyelash extensions that made your eyes pop in photos. But if you asked anyone who really knew Aneka, they would tell you that Instagram was just the surface. Underneath the influencer was a mother who loved her young son with a fierceness that made everything else make sense. The businesses, the brand deals, the new house, the fresh start, none of it mattered, except as a means to give him a better life. Her friends described her with the same words over and over: genuine, resilient, bubbly. But the word that came up most often was peaceful. Aneka did not do drama. She did not engage with negativity. If someone had a problem with her, they would find themselves talking to empty air because Aneka had already dismissed it and moved on. That Thursday morning, Aneka made a decision that seemed perfectly reasonable at the time. She would travel from her home in Kingston to Montego Bay to meet someone. A man named Rushawn Patterson, though most people knew him by his nickname, Chizzy. At 7:30 that Thursday evening, as the sun began its descent toward the Caribbean horizon, Rushawn Patterson picked up Aneka Townsend in Montego Bay. She got into his car, probably feeling that little flutter of nervous excitement that comes with meeting someone new. What Aneka did not know, what she could not have known, was that she had just gotten into a car with a predator who had been given chance after chance after chance by a system that valued his freedom more than it valued women's lives. The car pulled away from the curb, and the clock on her life began ticking down to 0. Before we follow Aneka to her final hours, we need to understand something crucial. Rashawn Patterson was not a mystery. He was not an unknown person. He was a known predator whose history of violence against women was so extensive, so well documented, that his freedom represents not a failure of information but a failure of will. Let us travel back to 2013, 9 years before Aneka held those keys. A woman, let us call her Sarah, agreed to go on a date with Rashawn Patterson. What happened next was not a date. According to police reports, Patterson slept with Sarah without her consent. And when he was done, he took a blade and slashed her throat, leaving her bleeding and dying because dead women cannot testify in court. Sarah's boyfriend was there too. When Patterson forced them both into his vehicle, the boyfriend jumped from the trunk of the moving car, trying to escape. He died from his injuries. Sarah survived. Barely. She identified Patterson as her attacker. Murder, attempted murder, and forcefully sleeping with a woman. These charges should have ended Rashawn Patterson's freedom forever. But in 2017, 4 years later, Sarah did not appear in court. Maybe she was too traumatized, maybe she was threatened, maybe the system failed to protect her adequately. The case was dismissed. Patterson walked free. A man who had allegedly slept with a woman forcefully, murdered her boyfriend, and tried to murder her was back on the streets because a traumatized victim could not bring herself to testify. The justice system had just handed Rashawn Patterson his first key. 5 years later, in 2018, Patterson's ex-girlfriend, we will call her Maya, agreed to meet him at a gas station. Just talking, just catching up. What harm could it do? She got into Patterson's car. He showed her a photo of her current boyfriend on his phone. Then he exploded. According to Maya's account, Patterson held her against her will. He choked her. He punched her repeatedly. And while he beat her, Patterson told Maya exactly what he was going to do. He described in detail how he would kill her and dispose of her body where nobody would ever find it. Then he forced her to an ATM and made her withdraw money. Kidnapping, assault, terroristic threats, robbery. Maya reported everything. Patterson was charged. But somehow, Patterson remained free. Despite a rap sheet that now included murder charges, rape charges, attempted murder, assault, and kidnapping, Patterson had only been convicted once, wounding with intent, reduced from attempted murder. His sentence? Suspended. The system handed him another key. Back in 2022, Aneka Townsend and Rashawn Patterson drove to a restaurant in Hanover. They shared a meal, probably making small talk. To anyone watching, they looked normal. Just two people on a date. Afterward, they checked into a guest house in St. James. Somewhere within those walls, at some point during that night, something shifted. An argument started. Voices were raised. And then Rashawn Patterson's hands were around Aneka's throat. The post-mortem examination would later reveal that Aneka died from strangulation sometime between 11 o'clock Thursday night and 9 o'clock Friday morning. Strangulation is not quick. It takes several minutes of sustained pressure to kill someone, several minutes during which the victim is fully conscious and aware of what is happening. Aneka knew she was being murdered. She knew her son would grow up without a mother. She knew all her plans and dreams, and that new house with the shiny keys would belong to someone else now. And when her body went limp, when Rashawn Patterson was certain she was dead, he took her body and drove to the coast. He threw Aneka Townsend into the ocean like she was garbage. Like her life and her son and her dreams meant absolutely nothing. Friday, October 21st, 2022, 9:30 in the morning. Beachgoers at Ramson's public beach in Redding, St. James, saw something in the water, a body floating face down, partially nude, already beginning to decompose in the tropical heat. The Marine Division of the Jamaica Constabulary Force pulled Aneka from the ocean. Along with her body, they recovered a bloodied towel and a woman's wig. She had visible injuries to her head and neck. The woman who had held keys to a new house just 3 days earlier was now laid out on a medical examiner's table. The following day, Aneka's mother had to go to the morgue and confirm that yes, this was her daughter.
My personal feeling, me not go rejoice over a death. Me not go rejoice over a death, but as a mother know say him kill my daughter, me feel good to him.
Police immediately named Rushawn Patterson as a person of interest. They gave him a deadline to turn himself in. Patterson ignored it and went into hiding. For nearly 2 weeks, he evaded capture while Aneka's family buried her broken body. On November 2, 2022, police tracked Patterson down to the Palm Tree Guest House in Green Island, Hanover. They arrested him just after 1 o'clock in the morning. The next day, police also charged Patterson with the 2018 assault on his ex-girlfriend. It had taken Aneka's murder to finally prompt authorities to pursue those older charges. On November 11th, Patterson was formally charged with Aneka's murder. Police revealed they had substantial evidence, forensic analysis, cyber forensic data, and a confession Patterson had allegedly made to a third party. The case seemed airtight. Justice for Aneka seemed inevitable. Her family exhaled for the first time in weeks. Finally, accountability. But they did not understand how many keys the system still had left to give Rushawn Patterson. When Patterson appeared in court, he was denied bail. Good. A trial date was set for March 6, 2023. March came and went. No trial. The date was postponed, then postponed again, and again. Missing documents, incomplete files, delays in DNA reports, issues with forensic data extraction, problems with witness availability. Month after month, the delays piled up. Aneka's family attended hearing after hearing, watching lawyers shuffle papers and judges grant continuances. For over a year, at least Patterson remained behind bars. And then came July of 2024. Patterson's lawyers filed for bail on humanitarian grounds. He suffered from hemophilia, a blood-clotting disorder that requires ongoing medical treatment. They argued he was not receiving adequate care while incarcerated. The judge agreed. Bail was set at $500,000 Jamaican dollars. Rushawn Patterson, a man accused of strangling a woman to death and disposing of her body in the ocean, a man with a documented history of violence against multiple women spanning over a decade, walked out of jail. Aneka's family was devastated. The influencer community erupted with outrage. How could the courts be so blind? The case was adjourned to October 15, 2025. Patterson walked free, supposedly to receive medical care. Aneka remained buried. Her son remained without a mother.
You're the only people me have a favor, make them take you. You're not get this shape, but you get me look. And then take you.
Patterson remained free on bail through the rest of 2024 and into 2025. As his October court date approached, the prosecution still was not ready. And then, on February 25, 2025, at approximately 5:40 in the morning, police shot and killed Rushawn Patterson during what they described as a confrontation in Hanover. The details remain frustratingly vague. Was Patterson armed? Was he threatening officers? Or was this something darker? Jamaica has a documented problem with extrajudicial killings by police. Was this legitimate use of force? Or was Patterson silenced before he could stand trial? We may never know. What we do know is that with Patterson's death, any chance of a conviction died too. Any chance of a public trial that might have exposed the systemic failures died too. Any chance of giving Aneka's family closure died too. The man who strangled Aneka and threw her body in the ocean would never answer for his crimes in a courtroom. The system that had given Rushawn Patterson every possible chance to keep hurting women had now given him one final gift: silence.
So, what's trending in our local social media spaces? Rashawn Patterson, a suspect in the 2022 murder of social media influencer Aneka Townsend, was fatally shot by police in Hanover today. Patterson, who was out on bail, was scheduled to appear in court on October 15. Here are some of your reactions. At I Am Kimberly Fisher writes, God never fails us, cause why was he out on bail? At Sophistique_Kiki says, Clean Up Jamaica is in full effect and I support the government. At Will Ryan Wilson comments, better you did stay in lockup. Now look there, all 3 points gone.
Somewhere in Jamaica stands a house that Aneka Townsend bought in October of 2022. The locks still work. The keys she held in that video, the keys that 165,000 people watched her display with such pride, those keys still fit perfectly. But Aneka will never turn them. Her son will inherit that house. He will grow up in the home his mother bought for their future. He will grow up surrounded by the physical manifestation of his mother's dreams. And he will grow up without her there to share it. He will grow up knowing that his mother was murdered by a man who should have been in prison years before he ever had the chance to meet her. He will grow up knowing that the system failed his mother at every possible turn. Aneka's friends remember her the way she would want to be remembered. One friend said, she's such a bubbly person. Anybody who said they have a thing with her, she just dismisses it, never in confrontation. And for someone to hurt her like that, it really hurts. Regardless of what people are saying, no one deserves this. Because when a woman is murdered, there are always voices ready to suggest that somehow she brought this on herself. Maybe she should not have met someone she did not know well. Maybe she should have been more careful. But meeting someone for dinner does not carry the death penalty. Trusting the wrong person should not cost you your life. The blame for Aneka's death does not belong to Aneka. It belongs to Rashawn Patterson, who made the choice to kill her. And it belongs to a justice system that knew exactly who Patterson was and let him walk free anyway. It belongs to the prosecutors who let Sarah's case collapse. It belongs to the judges who gave Patterson suspended sentences and bail despite his history. It belongs to a culture that treats violence against women as less serious than other crimes. Aneka died making plans for her birthday. She died excited about her new house. She died building her businesses and raising her son, and stepping into what she genuinely believed was her peace era. She had her whole future stretching out in front of her, and it was cut short by a man who should have been locked away years earlier. How many chances do we give predators? How many times does a man have to hurt women before we decide he should not be walking free? How many survivors have to come forward only to watch their cases dismissed or delayed? How many more women have to die before we stop handing monsters the keys to their lives? Sarah survived Rashawn Patterson's attack in 2013, and the system let him walk free. Maya survived his attack in 2018, and the system let him stay free. Aneka did not survive his attack in 2022 because the system had already given him every possible opportunity to kill again. The truth is that systems do not fail by accident. They fail because the people running them make choices. They fail because judges decide that bail is more important than safety. They fail because prosecutors do not adequately support traumatized witnesses. They fail because society has decided that violence against women is somehow less serious, less urgent, less worthy of resources than other crimes. Aneka Townsend held the keys to her future in her hands on October 18, 2022. She showed them to the camera. She smiled. She talked about peace. The system had already given her keys to Rashawn Patterson. And 3 days later, she was dead. Her story is not over just because Patterson is dead and the case is closed. Her story continues every single day that we allow systems to fail women. Her story continues every single time a dangerous man is given another chance he does not deserve. Aneka's story demands that we do better. It demands that we take violence against women seriously. It demands that we protect witnesses, prosecute aggressively, and stop giving predators the benefit of the doubt while giving their victims nothing but sympathy and flowers at their funerals. The house Aneka bought still stands, the keys still work, but Aneka will never use them. How many more keys are we going to hand to killers before we finally decide that women's lives matter more than men's second chances? She held the keys to her future. We handed hers to her killer, and we are still doing it today.